Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, I'm Aviah Putri Natasha from age 3. Now I want to explain the answer of my assignment about section 2 part 1, understanding the concept of discourse analysis. Number 1, why should we learn the genesis of discourse analysis? Please explain your answer. My answer, based on the PDF on the Lentera, studying the discourse analysis of the Mechana 2 will give us a basic understanding that is one of the main linguistic studies that examines the use of language by indigenous people. The purpose of studying discourse analysis is to reveal linguistic rules that construct discourse, produce discourse, understand discourse, and symbolize something in discourse. The purpose of discourse analysis is to provide discourse as one of the exponents of language in its function as a communication tool. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, I'm Aviah Putri Natasha from age 3. Now I want to explain the answer of my assignment about section 2 part 1, understanding the concept of discourse analysis. Question number 2. Do you agree with saying that the development of discourse analysis theory is strongly influenced by the development of linguistic theories? Why? Please explain the reason for your position. My answer? Yeah, I agree, because discourse analysis is closely related to linguistics. It is universally recognized that discourse analysis is the main linguistic study that examines the spoken and written use of language by indigenous people. Question number 3. What do you know of traditional grammar theory? Please explain your answer to this question by referring to these things. First, what is traditional grammar theory? My answer? According to Smith, 2003, traditional grammar theory is the study of the structure as well as the formation of word, morphology, and sentence, syntax, usually without much reference to sound and meaning. Next, what is the main principle of this theory? My answer, the main principle promoted by the theory is the grammar in this tradition reflect the perspective view that one dialect or variety of a language is to be valued more highly than others and should be the norm for all speakers of the language. Okay, next question is, what do teachers who adopt the principle do in teaching a language? My answer, in adopting these principles, grammarians study English further by using a prescriptive approach, namely the language approach used to codify and enforce the rules that govern how language is used. Rules emphasize some important things such as standard for spelling, grammar, or syntax, or rules about what is considered socially and politically correct. All teachers who adopt this to teach all their students will make certain language rules and absolute reference that all language learners must fully learn and follow. Next question. What are the products of this theory? My answer, the product of this theory is standard in spelling, grammar, and syntax. And then next question, what is the main shortcoming of this theory? The answer, the main shortcoming of this theory is that the theoretical approach only focuses on a perspective approach, so it is not enough to improve the knowledge and skills of students. Many linguists believe that language teaching use this approach is not strong enough to develop students' language knowledge and skills. And then next is, what are grammar translation method and its relation to traditional grammar theory? My answer, according to SIA 2014, traditional grammar theory inspires the birth of grammar translation method in language pedagogy. Many teachers conduct their language classes under the guidance of this method at the time. The relationship between the two is the traditional grammar theory, which inspired the birth of the grammatical translation method. Next, question number 4. What do you know of structuralism theory? Please explain your answer to this question by referring to these things. First question is, what is structuralism theory and what does the Saussure say about the structure of language? My answer, the term structuralism was firstly introduced by a Swiss linguist, Ferdinand de Saussure, who developed a branch of linguistic theory called structural linguistics through his work course in general linguistics published in 1916. This theory focused on examining language as a static system of interconnected units. De Saussure argued that language was formed by sign, which finally produced parole or speech or utterance, and utterance here is then understood as any meaningful event that has been made possible and governed to an extent by a pre-existing system of signs. A sign has two components, a signified abstract idea or concept, and a signifier, a means of expressing the significant. Example, the perceived sound. In other words, the sign is the combination between signified and signifier to gain its meaning. Next question is, what are the main principles of this theory? Okay, my answer. First, structuralism puts spoken language to be the first place and written language the second. And then next is, structuralism employs descriptive approach, which allows learners try to find the unconscious rules that people follow when they saying things like sentence. And then last, structuralism requires learners to learn language skill as a unified system as a whole. Therefore, they need a source of language component for imitation in order to build their skills and a foreign language. Okay, next question. What is informant method and what is its relationship to the structuralism theory? My answer, the informant method and its relation to the theory of structuralism were expressed by Bloomfield, a leading linguist, who brought the principle of structuralism into the audiolingual method, or better known as the informant method. It is called the informant method because it used native speakers of the language referred to as informant, who function as source of phrase, vocabulary, and who provide sentence to imitate. Okay, next question is, what are the characteristics of the method? My answer, first, a language is what its native speaker says, not what someone thinks they ought to say. Next, drilling is a primary activity in the classroom, and learning a foreign language is in need of habit using the language, which is initiated by mimicking, repeating the use of language component continuously until the learners feel natural to express everything they have learned in the foreign language. And then teacher have to lead his learners to practice the same sentence over and over again to gain familiarity with the sentence. Next, teachers language is a model for the learners to imitate. And then the last is communication skills will be attained after going through a long, boring and repetitive process and rigor skills. Okay, next question is, what is the main shortcoming of this theory? The main shortcoming of this theory is, my answer is the shortcoming of this method are that these methods are never wrong in teaching culture in language teaching and the only drawback. Okay, move to the next question. This is the last question from number 4. What is error analysis and what is its relation to the structuralism theory? My answer, error analysis began to be intensively developed in the era of structuralism. This is intended to provide information to teachers about the forms of mistakes that are often made by students. The information is then considered as a problem point for learning in a foreign language. The teacher is then obligated to correct the error. Okay, this is the last question, number 5. What do you know of functionalism theory? And please explain your answer to this question by referring to these things. First, what is functionalism theory and what does Chomsky say about language? My answer, functionalism theory is known as an approach to language study that is concerned with studying the function performed by language use. Chomsky further claimed that sentences in human language were not learned by imitation and repetition but generated from learners' underlying competence. Okay, next question is, what are differences between Chomsky's views and Haim's about language? My answer, Chomsky's view of competence is eventually recognized as linguistic competence, which deals with abstract ability speakers process that enable them to produce grammatically correct sentence in language, knowledge of structure of language. While Himes rejected Chomsky's view of linguistic theory by stating that Chomsky's view was sterile, he further held the linguistic theory needed to be seen as part of a more general theory incorporating communication and culture. Okay, next question is, what is the main principle of this theory? My answer, the main principle of this theory is that basically this theory has encouraged many researchers to examine aspects of language function other than language more. And then the next question is, what is CLT method and its relation to functionalism theory? My answer, CLT or communicative language teaching method is result from communicative competence. The emergence of the theory of communicative approach to language is deemed as the cornerstone of functionalism theory coming to being. And then this is the last question. What the relationship between discourse analysis and functionalism theory? Okay, my answer. The development of functionalism theory has been an inspiration for several linguistics conduct research on discourse analysis as their attempt to discover social and aspects of culture that underlie the language used by humans to communicate the form and function of information or social and culture aspect in language teaching. The background of discourse research as a pioneer in the in the emergence of discourse analysis as a discipline used to describe language and context. Okay, I was explain all the answer of my assignment. That's all from me. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.